Well, hello. Welcome you today. Today we get to start a brand new chapter of 2 Samuel chapter 7. Not only is it a new chapter, it's going in a new direction as well. And we're going to get into it, but as I often like to do, I like to pose a question just to get our minds thinking about some of the issues that we'll be looking at today. And ask you about moments of rest. I know they may be few. I know they may be far between. But when you get that moment of rest, when you get that perfect day off, amidst the chaos of life, how do you like to use it? How would you spend your perfect day? Rest is important, just like work's important. It's part of creation that God even gave a day of rest from the beginning. David had not seen much rest in his life. If we think about from the very beginning, as we've now looked at 6 chapters and decades in David's life, it's just been a whirlwind. It's been one thing after another. At the beginning, after he had been isolated, he comes back, he becomes the king of the southern kingdom of Judah, but there's still wars because the kingdom was united, even brother against brother, but there was also the old enemies from without as well as the enemies from within. Years and years and years of battles. Then, he does become the king of the unified kingdom, but even in those early days, there was a lot going on with that. And here recently, we've been looking at him with a heart and a desire to restore the kingdom properly, retaking the city of Jerusalem. The long passage about bringing back the ark which had laid dormant. And of course, we were also looking at the realities of his life. Besides being a king, he had some family issues, some family problems that he was dealing with. And we've seen all these things happening. David was clearly dealing with a lot. And while we are not kings, our life can have a lot of chaos. If you think about the seasons of your life, I'm sure that there are many times, maybe today, you are dealing with so many things that you feel like you're spinning plates, you're juggling things. It can be difficult. And hopefully even in those times you can find brief moments, you can find times of rest. And that's what we're going to turn to as we see, really for the first time, a period of a little bit of rest for David. It says in 7:1 of 2 Samuel, "Now when the king lived in his house, and the Lord had given him rest from all his surrounding enemies." He's there in the house. You can picture the scene. Maybe that's a place you like to go in your time of rest. Sometimes we want to fill our breaks with vacations and travel, and that can be good, but he's here at home, and that can be a place just to relax. And not to take it for granted when you get it. We need it. Our bodies need it. And there's different ways, again, to handle such a season. I asked the question earlier about things you may like to do. For myself, it would vary depending on different times. Sometimes I do want to fill it with activities. But what we're going to see David doing here is something we want to make sure we at least take some time to do. And he's going to take some time to contemplate, to dream big, to pray. There's times for having fun in that rest, but there's also times to think about vision. Maybe there's times because you're not so busy and overwhelmed with the day-to-day activities, you can think on a bigger level, and God may reveal things to you. And the king had a friend, and he's going to become more important later on, but he's just a source of trusted counsel. He's a friend. He's a counselor. The king needs that. We all need people in our lives like that. People that we mentor, people that still mentor us or that we can talk with. But the king said to Nathan the prophet, "See now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of God dwells in a tent Now, what he's really saying is, God's given me this great house. Every account of it that we've read is that God is masons and just built him a beautiful house that he could love. But he's thinking about bringing the ark back, and the instructions for the ark go back to the time of the wilderness, and that it was a tent, and it's a good thing that David's thinking about. He's thinking about how much he loves God, and that he wants to build something better. He's thinking, I want to build something better. Now Nathan, without really praying about it or thinking, says, yeah, go and do that all that is in your heart. The Lord is with you. It's like, yeah, go build the house. Because he's thinking, what's next in this time of rest? And it all seems good, and Nathan responds, it's good. And David's doing the right thing to go to a friend and to get counsel from someone he respects, and there's safety in a multitude of counselors, and that's a wise thing for us to do. But there's going to be more to the story. I mean, it all seems good, and it's not really bad, but there's some things being left out, and we need to be careful when we're contemplating big moves or big things. We need to also be careful when we're in a responsibility of giving counsel. So think about prayer and dreams. We speak to God, and this theme's come up before, but do we listen? We've seen David before. He's even thought about when he was dealing with the enemies. Should I go and attack from the front? Should I go to the rear? And God has sometimes encouraged him one way, or God's led him another way. Even when we think an idea is good, if it's a big idea, we need to take it before God and we need to listen. And so this is God's grace here. He says, but the same night the word of the Lord came to Nathan, go and tell my servant David, thus says the Lord, would you build me a house to dwell in? I have not lived in a house since the day I brought up the people of Israel from Egypt to this day, but I have been moving about in a tent for my dwelling. In all places where I have moved with all the people of Israel, did I speak a word with any of the judges of Israel, whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, saying, why have you not built me a house of cedar? So let's think about what God's really saying, and maybe I'll just share with you the parallel account from 1 Chronicles 17, 3 and 4. But the same night the word of the Lord came to Nathan, go and tell my servant David, thus says the Lord God, it is not you who will build me a house to dwell in. It's a good thing, and God's being gracious. It's not that David had some sin in his heart or anything else. You might have a great desire to do something, but you still want to make sure, is God in this? Am I hearing it rightly? Just like Nathan's earthly response was just wanting to be encouraged. Yeah, go do it. Somebody may come and say, I want to be a missionary. I want to sell my home. I want to move to the Philippines. I want to move to wherever. That's a good thing. It's a great desire of your heart. But you want to make sure that God is the one who is leading it. Now, sometimes God does say no. Sometimes God says no. But maybe it's because he has even a better idea for you. So we're going to continue on. It's not just a no. It's a, let me tell you there's something better. Now therefore, thus you shall say to my servant David, thus says the Lord of hosts, I took you from the pasture, from following the sheep, that you should be prince over my people Israel. And I've been with you wherever you went, and have cut off all your enemies from before you. Just a reminder, just like it's a reminder to us, that God is with us. He leads us, he guides us, he provides for us, he protects us. It's for David, it's for us. He says, I'll make for you a great name, like the name of the great ones of the earth, and I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, so they may dwell in their own place, and be disturbed no more. And violent men shall afflict them no more as formerly, from the time that I appointed judges over my people Israel, and I will give you rest from all your enemies. Moreover, the Lord declares to you, the Lord will make you a house. Now look, let's just think about this for a moment. David said, "Oh, God, let me make you a house." It's kind of like us saying to God, "Well, God, look at what great things I'll do for you." That's noble. But God is the creator of all things, of every star in the universe, of our planet, of every person. And he said, "Look, David, I'm going to be the one to make the house." And then, just continuing on with this thought, when your days are fulfilled and you lie down with your fathers, which is a truth for David, as it's a truth for us. We have a finite life on this earth, and even for King David, his life was limited. God is the one that lives everlasting to everlasting. On this planet, we all have a time that we occupy, time to use for good or for bad. But he says, "I'm going to raise up your offspring after you, who shall come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom." Now there's multiple parts. First, there's the sons of the earth, and particularly Solomon, who is going to build the temple. But then we also know that Jesus himself comes from the line of King David, and there's different things going on here. "He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. When he commits iniquity, I will discipline him with the rod of men, with the stripes of the sons of men. But my steadfast love will not depart from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away from before you. And your house and your kingdom shall be made sure forever before me. Your throne shall be established forever." In accordance with all these words, in accordance with all this vision, Nathan spoke to David. Now, two other thoughts. There's a lot that we could continue to unpack here. There's a lot of prophecy in this, and we're not going to get in. I don't feel led at this point to get into all the prophecies. But again, there's prophecies for Solomon. There's prophecies for Jesus. But God had a greater plan. Even something bigger and even better than David could envision. And lastly, I wanted to share here that Nathan was also faithful. Initially, he wasn't a bad guy, but he just didn't take the proper time to pray through it before he tried to encourage David. And now, though, when he received these words, he was faithful to share them. And in other parts of David's life, Nathan's going to be a faithful friend to do that. And we should be faithful. We may want to encourage people in the flesh, but we need to make sure that we're doing it in a right way with God. So let's think about some thoughts on this passage. First, when you get a moment of rest, if you are in a moment of rest, it is a blessing. But it's also something to use wisely. Yes, use it for fun. If you like to golf or go on vacation, go for a hike, all good things. But also time to maybe think about deeper, bigger pictures. Ask God, what's going on in your life? Seek wisdom in that. So it's about speaking and listening to God. Now, we want to speak to God. Sometimes we ask questions. David here was making a statement. But I cannot emphasize this enough, as I've grown as a Christian, to listen to God's voice. Whether it's a big voice or it's a still small voice, it's a leading of your heart. Listen and ask God for direction. Ask for wisdom. And he promises he will give it. Also, it's good to seek counsel, or at times we're the ones who have an opportunity to provide the counsel, and to take that seriously and to be careful about just saying, "Yep, sounds good to me," but truly pray about it and listen and be faithful to give it. Now, there's going to be times in our life. I mean, if anybody was walking with God, it was David. Yet, God in this instance said no. He said, "God, I want to build for you the great house." He said, "It's not going to be for you. It's going to be for your offspring." One, better to be in God's will. There may be something you earnestly desire, and you may think it's good. But if it's not God's will for you, maybe it's for somebody else. Maybe this isn't your role to play. It's not the same for everybody, and it's better to be in God's will. So you need to receive it. Don't fight it. We're going to go on and look at David's response in the coming weeks, but he's going to receive it. He's going to work with it. So you don't fight God's wills and plan for your life, and realize, hey, I am sure the Creator of the universe has something even better. And he's saying, yeah, look, David, you want to build the house? Let me build the house. And let me tell you the blessing it's going to be, and not just in a temporal way, but in an eternal way. And yeah, we're not kings. I don't think many of us are prophets. But we still have the pleasure of allowing God to work in our life in whatever capacity. And so if you're at that moment of rest, savor it. Enjoy the blessing. Seek it. Make sure you're listening. Seek God's will. When he says yes, then go for it greatly. When he says no, receive it and listen to his directions. Don't be discouraged. He probably, in fact, I'm sure, he has something even better for you.